B&B spoilers Monday, December 15th, Thomas's fierce return, Bill's incredible gift. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Monday, December 15th suggest some curveballs. Thomas Forrester, Matthew Atkinson, returns with a fierce mission. Meanwhile, Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, has an amazing wedding gift for Katie Logan, Heather Tom. Keep reading, and let's talk about what is coming up in the CBS soap opera. Thomas Forrester returns. Let's start off with Thomas. Fans know that Douglas Forrester, Henry Joseph Samry, came for Hope Logan Spencer, Annika Noel, and Liam Spencer's, Scott Clifton, wedding. However, Hope mentioned that Douglas was just going to be there for one day. Check out our weekly B&B spoilers, here. Next thing we know, Thomas struts into Forrester Creations. As Rich Forrester, Torsten Kay, and Steffi Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, follow, Thomas leads them into the showroom. That's when Thomas says this is where he needs to be. At Forrester Creations, designing again. Ridge Forrester's joy. When Thomas makes his announcement, Ridge beams with pride. The man has always preferred it when Thomas works with him at the Los Angeles location. With Eric Forrester, John McCook, retiring, Thomas being there will make things a bit easier for Ridge. Hope Logan's dilemma. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Monday, December 15th reveal that Hope is now married to Liam again. The woman is on cloud nine, so of course, something would happen to cause chaos. It happens to do with Thomas's return. Fans know that Hope found Deke Sharp, Harrison Cohn, to be her new lead designer. Hope agrees that he's new and needs guidance, but his designs are really fresh. However, with Thomas back, Ridge and Steffi will pressure Hope to work with him again. In a preview clip, Steffi says that Hope can't refuse to work with Thomas just because he makes her uncomfortable. Read more, the bold and the beautiful spoilers, Thomas brings Christmas miracle, fixes Ridge and Eric's broken bond? Bill Spencer's wedding gift. After Hope and Liam's wedding, fans watch as Bill propose to Katie. Then, we see in a preview clip that Bill has an amazing wedding present for his bride-to-be. The brunette passionately kisses him when she learns that Bill is giving her a fashion house of her very own. Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, will likely go to Katie's new company. Will Electra Forrester, Linnea Grace, and Ivy Forrester, Ashley Brewer, leave too? It seems that Katie could end up poaching some talented people from Forrester Creations. So, maybe we are finally getting the fashion house rivalry stories we have been asking for, so stay tuned. Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most on Monday, December 15th, 2025? The glittering world of Los Angeles fashion is about to be rocked to its core as the bold and the beautiful delivers a seismic Monday, December 15th episode. In a spectacular convergence of personal drama and high-stakes business, two major events, the fierce, game-changing return of Thomas Forrester and Bill Spencer's jaw-dropping, incredible gift to his new bride, Katie Logan, are set to shatter the established order at Forrester Creations and beyond. Get ready for an emotional roller coaster, as this day promises a devastating mix of soaring romantic triumph and the immediate, terrifying threat of a new professional and personal conflict. Fire the Firestarter returns, Thomas's fierce comeback. The quiet calm following Hope and Liam's recent renuptials is violently broken by the homecoming of Thomas Forrester, Matthew Atkinson. Fresh from his time away, this is not the humble, repentant man who left Los Angeles. This is a Thomas with a renewed focus, a steely determination, and a confidence that borders on aggressive. His target is clear, Forrester Creations, specifically the line he helped make a global success, Hope for the Future, HFTF. Upon his return, Thomas wastes no time in making his intentions known. In a move that sends icy shockwaves through the Forrester showroom, he points to the iconic logo above the runway and declares, with chilling certainty, that that is where he belongs. The Hope and Steffi divide. This immediate, forceful return creates an instantaneous conflict at the top. Steffi Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, the pragmatic CEO, sees Thomas's value only in terms of profit. She knows his designs are the engine of HFTF's best-selling seasons and quickly sides with her brother, arguing that his talent is essential for the line's upcoming relaunch. However, Hope Logan Spencer, Annika Noel, is paralyzed by a cocktail of past trauma and current loyalty. Working side by side with Thomas, her obsessive ex, is a nightmare she cannot bear to revisit, especially so soon after marrying Liam. She firmly rejects the idea, pushing to continue with the current, less experienced designer, Deke Sharp, Harrison Cohn, arguing for new ideas and a different direction. Steffi, in full business mode, is ruthless in her retort, accusing Hope of letting her personal discomfort dictate crucial company decisions. "You can't make business decisions because you're uncomfortable around my brother," she warns, effectively putting Hope on the defensive. The battle lines are drawn, Thomas's talent versus Hope's peace of mind. The pressure is immediately ramped up on Deke, who now sees his dream job hanging precariously in the balance as the Forrester siblings clash over his future. Thomas's fierce return is less a reunion and more an invasion, threatening to destabilize both Hope's career and her marriage before he's even unpacked his bags. Ring a gift that changes everything, Bill and Katie's surprise. While the drama is boiling over at Forrester Creations, a scene of pure, unrestrained romance and shocking ambition unfolds between Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, and Katie Logan, Heather Tom. Having just surprised Katie with an impromptu proposal that she accepted, marrying him on the spot after Liam and Hope's reception, Bill is not done with the grand gestures. Still in their wedding attire, in a moment of intimate celebration, Bill unveils his incredible gift, his wedding present to his new bride. The birth of a new empire. It's not jewelry, it's not a house, and it's not an executive position at Spencer Publications. It's a bold, industry-shaking move that promises to ignite a new fashion war in Los Angeles, Katie's very own, fully funded fashion house. "This is my wedding present, your own fashion house," Bill declares, turning Katie's attention to a screen displaying a dazzling fashion runway. Katie is left speechless, overwhelmed not just by the sheer magnitude of the gift, but by the profound faith and belief Bill has in her. This is the ultimate expression of his commitment, a way to give her a professional purpose entirely her own, free from the shadow of her sisters or the endless Forrester family drama. The grand gesture works its magic. Katie is deeply moved and rewards Bill with a passionate kiss, solidifying her trust and her decision to become Mrs. Bill Spencer once more. It's not just a personal triumph for Katie, it's a tectonic shift for the entire fashion landscape. A new rival, Katie's new fashion house instantly becomes a direct, well-funded competitor to Forrester Creations, particularly Hope for the future. New opportunities, Bill's fashion house creates a professional haven for those disaffected or sidelined by the turmoil at Forrester Creations. It immediately positions itself as a potential new home for Eric Forrester, should his retirement prove unfulfilling, or for a talented designer like Deke, who suddenly finds himself vulnerable due to Thomas's return. Exploding head the fallout, a day of devastating change. Monday, December 15th, will be remembered as the day the ground shifted. On one side, Thomas's return threatens to tear HFTF apart and reignite the toxic, dangerous tension with Hope. It is a sad, devastating reality that the shadow of Thomas will once again fall across Hope's life, creating instant, agonizing conflict for the newly married couple. On the other, Bill's incredible gift elevates Katie to a power player in the industry, giving her a new sense of professional destiny and personal happiness. But while the gift is incredible, its long-term effects on the volatile Los Angeles fashion scene and the Logan family's interwoven careers will be anything but peaceful. The celebration of one marriage's renewal, Bill and Katie, is immediately juxtaposed with the threat to another, Hope and Liam, all set against the backdrop of a brewing corporate battle for design dominance. The stakes have never been higher. Tune in to see how this fierce return and this incredible gift kick off the biggest, saddest, and most explosive new rivalry in the bold and the beautiful. The City of Angels has never been short on sunshine, but today, a cloud has settled over the fashion halls of Forrester Creations, a shadow cast not by a looming rival, but by a prodigal son. Thomas Forrester, Matthew Atkinson, is back. And while the familiar, handsome face of Ridge and Taylor's son should be a cause for universal celebration, the circumstances of his return have sent a chill down the collective spine of the Forrester and Logan families. This is not the triumphant homecoming fans dreamed of. This is today's very sad news, a dark twist to the holiday season that promises to unravel the meticulously stitched-together happiness of Hope and Liam, and perhaps, shatter the fragile foundation of the entire Forrester legacy. The timing of treachery, Hope and Liam's bliss on the line. Thomas Forrester is a man of dramatic timing, but even by his standards, his reappearance this week is a cruel, almost calculated blow. He is walking back into the Forrester mansion, not to joyous applause, but into the echoes of wedding bells, the very bells that chimed for Hope Logan, Annika Noel, and Liam Spencer, Scott Clifton. The Lope wedding was meant to be their definitive happily ever after, the moment where the Spencer and Logan families finally believed they had excised the ghost of Thomas from Hope's life and heart. The celebrations are barely over. The rice is still being swept from the veranda, and the honeymoon suite is still occupied, yet here is the man who nearly destroyed Hope and Liam before. It's almost a cosmic joke, quipped a source close to the Logans. Hope finally chose Liam, committing to a life where Thomas was strictly co-parent. But Thomas doesn't do co-parent. He does obsession, rivalry, and my destiny. The mere sight of Thomas, standing tall and perhaps a little too composed, will be enough to prick the balloon of their newlywed bliss. For Liam, it's a familiar, gut-wrenching dread. He knows Thomas is a masterful manipulator, an artist of psychological warfare. His return is a direct threat to the fragile peace he fought so hard to secure. The question is no longer if Thomas will try to break them up, but how and when the dark game will begin. And for Hope? The sadness here is that Thomas's return forces her to confront the part of her that, despite all her vows, she can't completely deny, the deep, creative, and yes, romantic connection she once shared with Thomas. His presence will make her second-guess every moment of her current marriage, plunging her into a torment of divided loyalty she thought she had escaped forever. The mystery of the missing Douglas and the shrouded pain. Perhaps the most tragic aspect of Thomas's arrival is what, or rather, who, is missing. Douglas Forrester, Henry Joseph Samary, is nowhere to be seen. Thomas left Los Angeles with Douglas, ostensibly to manage Forrester International in Paris and give his son a stable, beautiful life away from the non-stop melodrama of LA. That was supposed to be his redemption story, putting his son first, choosing peace and professionalism over his toxic obsession with Hope. Yet, he returns alone, carrying a suitcase that seems metaphorically heavier than it should be. This is the sad news that truly breaks the audience's heart. The whispers suggest a shattering development in Paris, that Thomas's engagement to Paris Buckingham has not only failed, but that the entire overseas venture collapsed in a devastating manner. The emotional toll appears to be catastrophic. The handsome exterior Thomas presents is a mask, a fragile veneer over a profound psychological unraveling. He is not the better man who found clarity, he is the wounded, volatile Forrester whose pain quickly transforms into destructive intent. His family, Steffi, Ridge, and Taylor, will quickly notice the haunted look in his eyes. He is guarded, secretive, and perhaps medicating a pain that no fashion award can fix. The very foundation of his redemption, his commitment to Douglas's well-being, is now in question. The sad news isn't just that Thomas is back, it's that he's returned broken, and a broken Thomas is a danger to everyone he claims to love. The architect of a new war, a Forrester against Forrester tragedy. But the personal heartbreak is only half the story. The latest spoilers suggest that Thomas is not just back to stalk Hope, he's back to plunge the Forrester family into a bitter civil war. The search results hinted at a monumental storyline, the forced retirement of the great Eric Forrester, John McCook, by his own son, Ridge. Eric, the patriarch, the creative soul of Forrester Creations, is now sidelined, feeling abandoned and robbed of his life's passion. Enter Thomas. Eric sees in Thomas a kindred spirit, a visionary designer who has also been routinely pushed out of the family business by Ridge and Brooke. Thomas, always fiercely loyal to his grandfather and sensing the chance to reclaim his professional power, could become Eric's deadly secret weapon. This is where the sad news takes on a monumental scale. The search results suggest that Thomas's return may be the catalyst for the launch of a rival fashion house, an unbelievable tragedy that pits father against son, grandfather against grandson. Imagine the pain. Eric, guided by Thomas, starts a new house. The initial excitement quickly sours into a deep, permanent fissure in the Forrester dynasty. Eric, in his desperation to design, finds himself in a cutthroat, painful rivalry against his own son, Ridge, and his favorite granddaughter, Steffi. The ultimate betrayal. Thomas, by joining Eric, is not just choosing a career, he is choosing sides in a family schism that may never heal. Ridge will see it as the ultimate betrayal, confirming every fear he ever had about his son's capacity for destruction. Steffi will be forced to choose between her grandfather. Part of this corporate drama is the loss of legacy. The Forrester name, a symbol of high fashion and family loyalty for decades, will be torn in two, its very identity dissolving in a bitter, televised divorce. The Brooke-Ridge-Taylor fallout, a weaponized son. The final tragic layer is the inevitable impact on the eternal love triangle. Thomas's history is inextricably tied to his unwavering desire for his parents, Ridge, Torsten Kay, and Taylor, Rebecca Budig, to be together. Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang, is his eternal enemy, the obstacle to his family fantasy. Thomas is returning precisely when the latest bridge reunion has settled into an uneasy truce. Brooke is already on high alert, her past clashes with Thomas being legendary and nearly fatal. The difference this time is that Thomas is not just a disgruntled son, he's a man who has experienced a severe professional and personal downfall. His anger and resentment are more focused, more dangerous. The sad news is that he will immediately become weaponized. He will see Brooke's presence as the root of Eric's misery, the cause of Ridge's indecision, and the reason he has been exiled. He will once again target Brooke, not with childish pranks, but with the cold, calculated fury of a man who has lost everything. Ridge, caught in the middle, will be forced to choose between his son and his wife, a choice that has haunted him for his entire life. The sadness is the cycle repeating itself, only with higher, more devastating stakes. Pensive Face, a tragedy written in silk and shadow. Thomas Forrester's return is not a hero's welcome, it is a tragedy written in silk and shadow. He returns to a world that has moved on without him, a world where the woman he loves is now married to his nemesis. He is a man reportedly carrying the invisible scars of a life that imploded in Paris, lacking the one person who truly anchored him, Douglas. This highly anticipated comeback is the sad news BNB fans didn't want to hear. It signals not redemption, but the resurgence of chaos. It promises not a beautiful new line at Forrester Creations, but the creation of a rival house built on bitterness and family resentment. And it guarantees that Hope and Liam's marriage, fresh as a daisy, will be put through a grinder of emotional manipulation that only Thomas, in his darkest state, can orchestrate. The stage is set for a bleak holiday season, one where the ghosts of Thomas's past return to haunt his present, dragging the entire Forrester and Logan clans into the abyss with him. The Bold and the Beautiful has promised a shake-up, and with the return of this deeply troubled, highly talented, and newly wounded Thomas, they are about to deliver a storyline that will be as devastating as it is unforgettable. The sadness, for the viewers and for the residents of Los Angeles, is just beginning. For a man whose life has been a perpetual series of emotional roller coasters, boardroom battles, and the relentless, agonizing oscillation between two monumental loves, Brooke Logan and Taylor Hayes, one might assume Ridge Forrester of The Bold and the Beautiful would be immune to heartbreak. One would be wrong. The designer, the patriarch, the man who believed himself forged in the fire of destiny, has just received news so profoundly sad, so utterly soul-crushing, that it threatens to unravel the delicate tapestry of joy he had just begun to weave. This is not a story of a waffling heart, or a forgotten annulment, or a corporate espionage plot. This is a story about the devastating finality of fate, a shadow cast from a past that Ridge thought was finally laid to rest, only to return with the cruelest possible blow. The news, a single, earth-shattering pronouncement, has instantly transformed his fleeting moment of happiness into a landscape of ashes. The allure of a new dawn. Ridge had, for the briefest of seasons, achieved what felt like a state of grace. His life, for once, was not defined by turmoil. Following the emotional and complicated business of his father, Eric Forrester, and his recent forced retirement from Forrester Creations, Ridge had been trying to atone. He was attempting to step into the role of a more empathetic son, a better father, and, most importantly, a decisive partner. The recent, painful separation from his current love interest, which culminated in an agonizing, tear-filled confession of love, but not destiny, seemed to have set him on a new, clearer path. He'd made his choice, or so he thought, and was determined to embrace the future with the fierce, passionate devotion only a Forrester could muster. This new chapter centered around a reconciliation with his other love, a woman whose steadfast devotion had weathered years of his indecision. This woman's unconditional love, coupled with his children's fervent wishes for their parents' reunion, had offered him a new kind of joy, the joy of a peaceful, unified family. This joy was tangible. It was in the quiet family dinners with his children, Steffi and Thomas. It was in the shared laughter over a memory of their youth. It was in the rare, comforting silence that settled over the Forrester mansion, a silence unbroken by the usual accusations and dramatic outbursts. He saw a future where his family was whole, where his children felt secure, and where his love was no longer a weapon used to hurt the person he wasn't with. This was his joy, a foundation of quiet, familial contentment, built on a promise of finality and stability. He had promised a future, one where the old rivalries would finally cease, and where their shared history would be a blessing, not a burden. He was going to stand firm, resolute, and unwavering. This newfound peace was his greatest triumph, the culmination of decades of a search for a place to finally belong. The unthinkable phone call, a dark history resurfaces. The news did not arrive via a dramatic confrontation at Forrester Creations, nor was it a cryptic message from an overseas rival. It arrived as a simple, sterile email from an independent investigative firm, followed by the kind of phone call that sends a chill down the spine of even the most hardened soap opera veteran. The call concerned a figure from his past, a woman whose life had tragically and violently intersected with his own years ago, a loss that had shaped the early lives of his children. The subject of this news was the cold, hard, unsettling reopening of a decades-old file, the death of his daughter, Phoebe Forrester. Phoebe's tragic passing in a horrific car accident, while Ridge desperately tried to save her, remains one of the most painful wounds on the Forrester family's soul. It was a pivotal moment, a loss that catalyzed years of guilt, grief, and family fractures. Ridge has carried that day with him, the image of his daughter dying in his arms, the sound of her final song, a ghost forever haunting his happiness. He believed the matter closed, a tragic, unavoidable accident caused by a moment of reckless driving. But the new report suggests something far more sinister. The independent investigation, quietly commissioned by a vengeful, peripheral character from their past, perhaps an enemy of Brooks, or an old flame of Nick's, or even a rival business entity, alleged that the mechanical failure that caused the crash was not an accident at all. It was an act of sabotage. The evidence points to a chilling truth: the accident that claimed Phoebe's life may have been a failed attempt on Ridge's own life. The mechanical flaw was engineered to strike the passenger seat, centered around a reconciliation with his other love, a woman whose steadfast devotion had weathered years of his indecision. This woman's unconditional love, coupled with his children's fervent wishes for their parents' reunion, had offered him a new kind of joy, the joy of a peaceful, unified family. This joy was tangible. It was in the quiet family dinners with his children, Steffi and Thomas. It was in the shared laughter over a memory of their youth. It was in the rare, comforting silence that settled over the Forrester mansion, a silence unbroken by the usual accusations and dramatic outbursts. He saw a future where his family was whole, where his children felt secure, and where his love was no longer a weapon used to hurt the person he wasn't with. This was his joy, a foundation of quiet, familial contentment, built on a promise of finality and stability. He had promised a future, one where the old rivalries would finally cease, and where their shared history would be a blessing, not a burden. He was going to stand firm, resolute, and unwavering. This newfound peace was his greatest triumph, the culmination of decades of a search for a place to finally belong. The unthinkable phone call, a dark history resurfaces. The news did not arrive via a dramatic confrontation at Forrester Creations, nor was it a cryptic message from an overseas rival. It arrived as a simple, sterile email from an independent investigative firm, followed by the kind of phone call that sends a chill down the spine of even the most hardened soap opera veteran. The call concerned a figure from his past, a woman whose life had tragically and violently intersected with his own years ago, a loss that had shaped the early lives of his children. The subject of this news was the cold, hard, unsettling reopening of a decades-old file, the death of his daughter, Phoebe Forrester. Phoebe's tragic passing in a horrific car accident, while Ridge desperately tried to save her, remains one of the most painful wounds on the Forrester family's soul. It was a pivotal moment, a loss that catalyzed years of guilt, grief, and family fractures. Ridge has carried that day with him, the image of his daughter dying in his arms, the sound of her final song, a ghost forever haunting his happiness. He believed the matter closed, a tragic, unavoidable accident caused by a moment of reckless driving. But the new report suggests something far more sinister. The independent investigation, quietly commissioned by a vengeful, peripheral character from their past, perhaps an enemy of Brooks, or an old flame of Nick's, or even a rival business entity, alleged that the mechanical failure that caused the crash was not an accident at all. It was an act of sabotage. The evidence points to a chilling truth: the accident that claimed Phoebe's life may have been a failed attempt on Ridge's own life. The mechanical flaw was engineered to strike the passenger seat, but a last-second shift in the car's position, or a sudden movement by Phoebe, placed her in the path of the intended fatality. The shattering impact on Ridge's joy. Ridge's joy, the peace he had just begun to embrace, is instantly annihilated by this news. 1. The poison of guilt, the father's cross. The foundation of his new life crumbles into an unbearable cross of guilt. For years, he'd blamed the accident on chance, on fate, on his own momentary lapse in judgment. Now, the knowledge that he was the intended target, and his innocent daughter died in his place, is a horror he cannot comprehend. The joy of being a unified family with his current partner evaporates under the scorching light of this truth: Phoebe died because of him. His happiness feels like a desecration of her memory. Every moment of peace he claimed was purchased with her life, a life taken by a plot meant for him. 2. The threat to his remaining children, Steffi and Thomas. His newly established joy was deeply rooted in the stability and happiness of Steffi and Thomas. This news instantly jeopardizes that. Revealing this truth means not only reopening their mother's most profound wound, the loss of a child, but also exposing them to the raw, visceral fear that their family is still a target. His daughter Steffi, already a veteran of tragedy and trauma, will be forced to relive the most harrowing moment of her life with a new, terrifying context. Ridge's joy of a secure, happy family is replaced by the grim reality that his very existence puts his children in mortal danger. How can he allow himself joy when he is a magnet for assassins? 3. The impossibility of peace, the endless rivalry. The entire point of his current romantic situation was to end the perpetual waffling and find final, genuine peace. This news ensures that peace is impossible. The need to investigate and find the culprit will drag him back into the ugly underbelly of the LA drama, the shadowy figures, the vengeful exes, the business rivals. The search for the killer will undoubtedly force him to look at all of his life's decisions, all the enemies he has made, and all the lines he has crossed. The instability he thought he had escaped is now multiplied tenfold. The woman he is with will be forced to choose between her own fragile peace and supporting Ridge through a new, darker reign of terror, a life where they must look over their shoulders at every turn. Their destiny is now marked by a target. 4. The return of Brooke Logan. Every devastating event in Ridge's life has invariably led to a new confrontation, a new choice, and often, a return to the one person who seems to be his emotional anchor, Brooke Logan. This new tragedy is too big for him to shoulder alone. It is too big for his current relationship to endure without a seismic shift. Brooke, who has also been a mother figure to Phoebe and shared in the grief, will naturally be drawn back into the crisis. The emotional connection forged in shared tragedy is the most powerful bond in their decades-long saga. Ridge's joy was supposed to be a clear boundary between himself and Brooke. Now, the boundary is erased by the need for a shared grief, shared fear, and shared determination to find justice for a child they both loved. The new life he promised is instantly tainted, and the possibility of him returning to the arms of destiny under the banner of trauma becomes all too real, shattering the recent happiness of the woman he just chose. The road ahead, a labyrinth of pain. The news is a brutal reminder that in the world of the Forresters and the Logans, the past is never truly dead. It simply waits for the moment of greatest vulnerability to strike. Ridge Forrester's brief moment of joy has been utterly and irrevocably destroyed. He is no longer a man basking in the glow of a unified family. He is a tormented soul, an accidental killer of his own child, hunted by a ghost he didn't know existed. The man who once claimed to live for destiny is now burdened with a mission for justice, a mission that threatens to consume him and everyone he loves. The most crushing aspect of this sad news is that it wasn't just a loss of life, but a total loss of innocence, the innocence of a father believing he had finally found his way home. Now, Ridge knows his home is a house of cards, constantly threatened by the darkness he carries. His joy is gone, replaced by the bitter, all-consuming need for revenge, setting the stage for the next dramatic chapter in his endlessly tragic life.